Hi. My last video was an interview with Byron Katie, and in it she made some statements that a number of people found difficult to reconcile. And I wanted to give you my take on that. So one of the things she talked about is that no one else exists. And then she went on to speak about other people. So what is she saying when she says no one else exists? Uh, how I see it is Katie is often talking about the world in which we each experience as opposed to the big world. In fact, to be a little less confusing, I'm going to call it the space of experience in which we have. We all live in a space of experience. Everything we experience shows up in it. That is, everything we know, everyone we're aware of, all the events we know, all the news we know. If it doesn't appear in our space of experience, it doesn't exist for us. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist for someone else or doesn't exist maybe even in and of itself, but it doesn't exist for us as something we experience. And Katie goes back and forth speaking sometimes about that and sometimes speaking more generally about the world, more in a more common sense. So what do I mean? I'm going to go a little further by this space of experience. Um, how satisfied we are is all inside our space of experience. Whether we enjoy ourselves at a moment, we like our jobs, how much love we feel for people, how turned on we are about things, all of that's in our space of experience. And likewise, when those are absent and we're not in touch with the deliciousness of life, that's in our space of experience. That's a kind of world for each of us. Inside that, when Katie talks about that, all we speak to are the projections we have for others, that's what she's talking about. Um, she said, she only spoke to me through her projection of me. I only speak to her through my projection of her, because that's how people live for us. They live for us inside our space of experience. Now, that person is way more than our projection of them. And everybody who knows that person has a projection of them. And that person themselves has a projection of themselves. And even that is still, in some ways, the shallow aspects of who a human being really is. But that's what we interact with. We interact with our projections of each other. And that's part of why Katie can live in a friendly universe, because her way of seeing is that everybody is um, basically God. And that's what she's seeing. Now, they've forgotten it. There's fear. Fear leads to evil actions. None of that she denies. But for her, the ultimate view of it is friendly. For other people, Katie spent quite a bit of time talking about that other people may be in very different places and they may be suffering. And what she sees is the thing to do with them in that is to be with that person without trying to change their emotional pain. She said, just be present with the person and connect. It's intimate. And it's an absence of assuming I can experience another person's pain, which is disrespectful. And it's a very personal experience. So she absolutely recognizes other people and is totally prepared to move with care and compassion for them. Our experiences in this space of experience are shaped by our beliefs, that which we believe to be true. And some of those beliefs are really obvious and some are pretty subtle and almost unconscious. But that's shaping us and how we see the people in our lives, how we see our work, how we see our families, all of that. And that's where Katie can say suffering is a state of mind. This is a quote. We can question those states of mind. It takes an open mind because the ego's identity is at stake. It's a big ask inviting people to self-inquiry. And I think that is one of the great challenges, is that in the stories, in our space of experience that we believe, we have an identity and an ego that wants to survive, and really rigorous inquiry challenges that, questions its very existence. The work can work because you're really always just inquiring into your own beliefs. Even if you think it's about the other person, it's about how you see the other person. And that's why it's possible to gain freedom in the course of doing it. I was suffering one time. There was a woman in one of my programs that kept letting me know that I wasn't teaching things right. And I came to really dread the conversations, really bothered me. I mean, I was suffering about it. And I finally sat down and did inquiry on it. I was actually sitting on a beach and I just spent half an hour to look at it. And what I saw was, why did it bother me so much? As well, I had doubts as to whether I was doing a good job teaching. She was only, reflecting back, or at least my way of seeing it was simply taking what she was saying and amplifying it and suffering about that. And when I saw that, first I just acknowledged what questions I had and doubts, and okay, that wasn't a problem. Like avoiding facing that was a problem. Facing it wasn't a problem. And then I could turn my attention to her, and I realized she was suffering. She was asking me to help her stop suffering. That was the real request. Um, and I saw that um, there were probably ways I could support her better there. And I then took her other questions as a wonderful invitation. Like, what else could I learn here from how she's asking me to present this stuff? It was a complete transformation. She didn't change. The meaning of who she was for me changed completely. My experience changed completely. And the result was we actually got way more connected out of that shift that I did by doing the work. So what does all this not mean? It does not mean you don't take action against people doing bad things. It does not mean that there isn't evil happening in the world. What it shifts is how we understand others and ourselves and what kind of action we can take. What I find, and I find for other people, is when we're not suffering, we're not focused on, oh, I'm not doing it right, and we turn our attention to the others, that we can move with way more care and compassion and skill for them, and even for ourselves. Well, I close with a quote that Katie had in the interview, which I really loved. She said, "Earth is my heaven. It's everyone's heaven, other than what we're thinking and believing about it. It's a gift, but what we're thinking and believing about it could use a little work." I can't say it better than that. Thanks for being with me. Appreciate your listening.